Here, rematch between the two. Both players pretty happy to be here. So both been hanging out during the tournament, but now comes to an end. They're going to have fight in the finals here over that trophy. Both have mulliganed, scrying to the top here, so it's going to be a matchup of 6-card hands.
Living End, a deck that mulligans a fair bit better than, I suppose, most decks in the format, but humans certainly.
Yeah, we saw actually in the top semifinal match, Ben Lau on the play kept a 5-card hand and won on turn 4.
Yep, against humans, no less.
Again, right. Pressure is on. An Aether Vial to start with from Dhaliwal. One thing I've seen mine before is that Shawn can, if he leaves Aether Vial on 2 and does not activate it, that actually can provide a lot of pressure against Living End.
You do have to be concerned if you cast a Cascade spell and Dhaliwal just files in Meddling Mage in response and aims Living End, then you can just lose the game on the spot.
Shawn can do a little trick here with Thalia's Lieutenant that we've been seeing though this weekend. Vials in Noble Hierarch with the trigger on, so he gets himself a counter on each creature.
You notice another thing making things difficult. Lau has drawn a main deck copy of Anger of the Gods. If you had a Simian Spirit Guide and a red land, you could cast that on this turn, though it's not clear that Dhaliwal can even get out of anger range on the following turn.
Yeah. Question here, as we go into the second turn for Lau, is going to be if he has more lands.
Yeah, I saw him cycle Street Wraith there. That's all the turn's been so far.
Wants to read Thalia's Lieutenant.
I think that he has land Shriekmaw available.
Yeah, you're right.
He's thinking about whether he wants to go ahead and do that. Given that the Lieutenant can grow out of Anger of the Gods range, it does make some sense. And he does have the Simian Spirit Guide, so
different plan.
Not too bad.
Not Shriekmaw. We're going to go ahead and just, Spirit Guide up that Anger of the Gods to clean the board entirely.
Right, and meanwhile, if Dhaliwal lands a Thalia or a Meddling Mage, the Shriekmaw is a very easy answer to either of those creatures.
Now, it does end up being a 2 for 2 because Ben Lau had to use that Simian Spirit Guide. But to slow down Dhaliwal, that's more than good enough.
Yeah, it's not really a matchup that it's worth thinking about in terms of card economy, right? It's just there's this huge haymaker that Lau has access to that destroys all creatures and puts a lot of stuff on the battlefield for him. You do everything you can to not lose the game up to that point.
Kitesail Freebooter and Thalia's Lieutenant. We're going to get to see Lau's hand. The only instant or sorcery in it, or non-creature card rather, was Violent Outburst. There are 3 creatures, however, Shriekmaw, Archfiend of Ifnir, and Desert Ceradon.
And this was kind of an unfortunate thing about using the Anger of the Gods, is now he has Shriekmaw and it can't destroy Kitesail Freebooter.
Yeah, so he has 3 mana sweeper now hidden under the 1/2.
Minimally on this turn, if he wants to, he can just evoke the Shriekmaw, hit the Thalia's Lieutenant. He could also spend some time cycling.
Looks like he's going to cycle the Archfiend and plays a fetch land. Of note, it's Verdant Catacombs, and his last cycler is Desert Ceradon, so if he wants to cycle it this turn, it's going to cost him some extra life points.
Yep. He has 16. It's a good amount to play with. Dhaliwal just drawing up to a second card in hand. 4 power in the battlefield currently. You got to figure it's going to be increased to at least 5.
Yeah, here is Militia Bugler. 2 copies in Dhaliwal's deck list. He'll vial that in. Would love to find something like a Meddling Mage here, or even a Thalia, and it looks like he has.
The Shriekmaw is face up, so you can cast that. It's pretty good, but it's not going to end the game on its own. He will be able to increase the amount of damage he's able to deal this turn. The Bugler turned that up to 5. Another creature turns it up to 6. From there, Lau is at 10. Getting to the point where Dhaliwal could conceivably have a lethal attack on the following turn.
Phantasmal Image, Kitesail Freebooter, Thalia, and Noble Hierarch look to be the choices. All 4 of them are options. He's going to go with Thalia. That's the one that's most disruptive to Ben drawing a Cascade card.
Right, it means you have to have 5 mana, a 4th to cast the Outburst or the Demonic Dread, and then a 5th to actually pay for the Living End itself.
So he'll cast Thalia, that pumps the Lieutenant, and a swing for 6 will put Lau down to 10. And Dhaliwal now empty-handed as he drops that Cavern of Souls. Interestingly, he's in a Cavern of Souls on Illusion here.
Yeah, that'll be his only way to actually cast a Phantasmal Image from here. The Vial has gone up to 3. no blue land otherwise. No Noble Hierarch as well.
Lau looking like he's going to fetch Shock here to cycle Desert Ceradon. Now, if that's the case, because Thalia's there, he actually can't Cascade next turn.
A combination of land, Simian Spirit Guide, Cascade spell would do it, though it's that exact mix.
Yeah, and there's the 3 unknown cards. If it is those 3, he'll have the play.
So he still has Shriekmaw. You want the Shriekmaw Thalia, but if you do that, then you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage coming your way already. I believe that we have not updated from that fetch shock, so that is lethal.
All right, so if he's at 7, then he has to Shriekmaw the Lieutenant because there's 6 power otherwise.
Right. Then you have to figure out something to do about the Thalia, and I don't know if there's anything that will be able to do that.
Well, if he has a land, he could make a land drop Shriekmaw and then hope to make another land drop and then play a Cascade card. However, that really depends on what those hold cards are. And it looks like he doesn't have any lines to play to. Ben Lau's going to pick him up.
Yeah, Dhaliwal had just enough pressure there and some good mix of disruption.
And a chink in the armor for Living End. It's the first game we've seen him drop all day. We had him on against Dredge. That was a 2-0. We had him on against Lanthea. I think, this is the first game he's dropped.
Today, yeah. We saw him kind of get trounced by Burn, but...
Yeah, that was yesterday.
In the matches he's won today, they have not generally looked close, but here, Dhaliwal is up a game.
So, down 1. Let's look at some sideboards. Last time when Lau played this matchup, I assume it's going to be mostly the same. We have Dead Gone, Anger of the Gods, the extra Shriekmaw, and that's mostly what we're looking at.
Yeah, and he did also board in some number of Ingot Chewer. That makes sense. You target Ether Vial with that, and that turns off kind of the line you described where the Vial on 2 can be left up and Meddling Mage or Thalia in the middle of your cascading.
So, assuming Ben Lau keeps things the same, I do want to look at Shawn's sideboard. It's a little bit different than what we saw from Dylan Hand. And whether or not any of these differences matter. He's got, I think, some Auriok Champions, Kataki, Riders of Gavany, perhaps, cards that weren't available.
Yeah, so Riders of Gavany is kind of a hate card for tribal decks. It's good in the mirror. It's good against Bant Spirits. Don't think it really plays here. You just name a creature type for your creatures to have protection from. Something approximately like that. Anyway, it's only good against one creature type, and I'd have to confirm the creature types on the cards in Living End, but I just don't think it's going to play here. Then we just...
it doesn't... They probably don't share enough creature types.
Well, also just the game's not about facing down a bunch of them either. It's about getting Living Ended or not.
Right, so keeping that in mind, we're looking at probably the 2 Sin Collectors and maybe nothing else here.
Yeah, again, there's the nod to the bad Thalia, the Damping Sphere. I don't think it does enough, though. Just makes the Living End itself cost 1, and then it's 4 to pay for your chain, and that's not a big ask.
Yeah, Shawn being on the play that game, ending up mattering a fair amount. Ben had to Simian Spirit Guide out the Anger because he was on the draw. On the play, he gets to keep the Spirit Guide, maybe cast the Archfiend of Ifnir. We could have seen something a lot different.
Yeah.
And he'll get that tempo advantage here for game number 2.
And pretty significant edge as far as how the sideboarding's going.
Yeah, Ben improves more.
Right.
It does look that way.
Higher volume of cards, and they all just really effectively answer everything that matters on Dhaliwal's side.
Yeah, I mean, Ben gets to move away from these 4 Fulminator Mages and 2 Fairy Macaques and just put in 6 more removal spells.
Right.
And that's bound to improve things.
Yeah, both in terms of fighting over Meddling Mages, and it's just more stuff to dampen the onslaught. You can really push back against the aggressive deck. Sometimes you'll even fire off Dead Gone on the turn 1 Champion of the Parish, and that can buy you a lot of time.
And that reload from Shawn in the game, I think at least me caught him off guard. We had Shawn with the first 2 creatures getting hit by what looked to be a decisive Anger of the Gods, and then Shawn's recovery was almost immediate. Thalia's Lieutenant and then freebooting away that violent outburst really allowed him to walk it in.
Yeah, that freebooter was a big deal. If that wasn't there, there was a window where Lau could have executed on Living End, and that would have been the whole game. And yeah, Dhaliwal added a lot of power on top of that very quickly. Human's deck is quite good at that. Both Thalia's Attendant and Champion of Parish are really good at generating extra power. Militia Bugler carried its weight pretty reasonably as well.
Yeah, finding that Thalia cut off a lot of outs that Lau may have had. For game number 2, it looks like Lau keeping on 7. See a Shriekmaw in the opener. And Dhaliwal as well, so here we go. And setting up on Blooming Marsh. It looks like a couple of Cyclers, Horror of the Broken Lands, Desert Ceradon to go with that Shriekmaw. Lands and Cyclers, mostly what he's looking for here.
Yeah, the hand's either very good or very bad. And
we'll find out which.
Time will tell.
Aether Vial again for Dhaliwal. And Ben will begin building that graveyard. In this kind of matchup, you really don't need too many creatures. It's about 3 or even 2 can win through a Living End.
This is a very minor thing, but it's nice to see it. Benjamin Lau showing respect to the fact that you can do your free effects whenever. He drew Street Wraith on Dhaliwal's end step, but ended up cycling it on his own turn.
Sure.
You can always wait to activate your free effects.
And Ben's hand does appear to be shaping up. Not only does he have that Shriekmaw, he's picked up land 3, he's picked up Violent Outburst. Has another card to cycle. This is basically where he wants to be.
Yep.
Thalia is going to be the first play here from Shawn.
That one's probably going to earn the Shriekmaw.
Yeah.
Real tough to cascade through it. Shock here might mean that Lau already has a dead gone.
Possibly.
Though a couple cycles wouldn't be the least bit surprising.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to cycle Desert Ceradon. He wanted that untapped red and had to use Verdant Catacombs to get it.
Yep. Yeah, we've seen that come up a lot. It's a 3-color deck. It's going to happen.
He's drawn a copy of Living End that turn. I don't think it's too much of a concern, as the other 2 are still in his deck. Once he draws the second one, he has to start being concerned about these sorts of things.
Right, yeah. Well, when you only get to go off once, it can be a problem. Though he's not playing against a graveyard deck, and he's not playing against a deck where you Living End and Dhaliwal is likely to have that much hanging out.
Shriekmaw takes care of the Thalia, and Shawn Vials in Noble Hierarch. We'll go back over to Dhaliwal. The game on an Aether Vial on 2 is pretty interesting, because both that's an instant speed effect, and so is Ben's Violent Outburst.
And if Dhaliwal's not using it proactively, there's that concern that if you cast a Cascade spell, Meddling Mage can just show up on the battlefield and break things up. And that's why you see Benjamin Lau boarding in some number of Ingot Chewers.
Mantis Rider here from Shawn. He'll attack for 4, Lau down to 11. And the trap from Shawn's side would be to use that Vial on end step. If he does, then we might see a Cascade spell.
And it looks like Dhaliwal is not representing Meddling Mage. He's stopping Lau on end step, which leads me to believe he has Freebooter.
It looks like Thalia.
Okay, that one's also reasonable to slide in here.
Yeah, now a Simian Spirit Guide plus a Cascade spell, however, should
land,
this up.
Cascade spell, Spirit Guide would do it.
And it's not there. So Shawn taps the Vial and is rewarded.
Yeah, he has Violent Outburst, though next turn he'll be able to just make another land drop and go for that if Dhaliwal doesn't do anything on top of what he already has.
If there's a Meddling Mage in Shawn's hand, I like his board quite a bit right now. He's got a good amount of pressure, but should easily be a turn 2 turn clock.
I feel like the way that played there, the Meddling Mage would have to be coming off the top right now. I don't think that you can afford to Vial in the Thalia if you just have Meddling Mage.
Sure, he swings for 5, puts Ben to 6. Now, he may have a Militia Bugler, and if he does, that's one way to get a Meddling Mage.
Right. It would be face up, but it's still a big deal.
Go for Sin Collector. Violent Outburst is the hit, but there's 2 of them. Unless, of course, he wants to take the Living End. I don't think that would be the case.
Right. Yeah, see, Lau pushes forward the Violent Outburst. You're going to do this.
Yeah.
You know.
And now Lau... I mean, if there's not a Meddling Mage, he's looking pretty good here. If there is...
Yeah, he already has the
going to
untapped
lose.
land.
Just go for it.
Yeah, his choice is forced.
Okay, well, let's see if it works. I was going to say go. I guess you can do it during upkeep if that makes a difference. Not really.
Yeah.
Okay. Drew Demonic Dread. He'll try that one instead. He's going to pay 4 for Demonic Dread. It's going to cascade into Living End, which he'll pay 1 for.
And he has a million creatures in his graveyard. 1-inch Shriek Moth that'll cover the Thalia coming back on Dhaliwal's side.
Yeah, and now that the cascade is happening, that should imply that the Meddling Mage isn't there.
Right.
With the cascade trigger on, that you'd have to Violet into play.
Yeah, and I reiterate that this probably looks safe because of the timing on the volleying of the Thalia. Dhaliwal was very unlikely to have Meddling Mage.
Agreed. Shawn was hoping to find just 1 cascade card with that Sin Collector, and then he saw 2 with the untapped land.
Right. That's kind of the nature of both Sin Collector and Kitesail Freebooter in the matchup, is they're selectively good.
Right.
In Game 1, we saw Freebooter be pretty good. Here in Game 2, we see Sin Collector not being quite good enough.
Shawn managing to keep things pretty close here. But Ben able to get it on his on the last possible turn. And now Ben has a million creatures. The Shriekmaw puts the Thalia back in the graveyard.
And the attack next turn will be very lethal.
And it looks like there's one more card in Shawn's hand. He's going to go ahead and vial up to 3. I don't know if there's a combination, if he maybe gets 2 Mantis Riders, something like that. He's got all-white card.
Yeah, 2 Mantis Riders could fly across for lethal on this turn. Though I think it has to be exactly that, exactly now. Suppose Mantis Rider this turn, attack, and then Mantis Rider next turn. I think he could survive by blocking one of the Ceradons, but
yeah,
it does have to be 2 riders.
And here's Bugler. Looking at top 4, and finds Meddling Mage.
Yeah.
Too late.
Yeah, you wanted that quite a bit earlier here.
Last turn, if you had the Sin Collector, if you had to choose between Bugler and Sin Collector, that feels like a really close spot to be. I guess the Sin Collector makes more sense if you're trying to dodge. I think that was the decision he was looking on. Yeah, the Bugler found Champion of the Parish.
So now Lau does have to think a little bit about attacks. His attack previously was for 22. Block one of the Ceradons, it goes down to 16. There's not going to be a double block, so the block is going to be on the creature that is able to. You sacrifice your creature that does the least damage going forward, where he knows he has a human in his hand and Lau doesn't. So the Champion of the Parish could be well worth 3 points. So if it's just some human in hand plus Mantis Rider next turn, that can be lethal. So Lau is kind of forced to make not a full Alpha Strike here.
Okay.
I suppose he has Violent Outburst.
Does that do it?
Is that so you have -6 +4. That puts you back at 20. The Vial can mess that up, but there's still 2 blocks forced.
It looks like he's going to give Shawn one more turn with this Ceradon attack.
Yeah, he's thinking about it a lot. Yeah, so if you attack with everything, and there's a human vialed in that would pump the Champion up to 2. You get to throw creatures in front of both the Ceradons. Then we're dealing with 10 damage +3 for the Outburst.
And it's going to be a full swing on Lau's side. So this will force some blocks. It is for 22. And the Violent Outburst as a pump spell would make it for 27. Which means to avoid it being lethal, Shawn would have to block 2 things here.
Right.
Here's the Aether Vial on 2. Thalia's Lieutenant. Does mean that the Bugler's big enough to block and survive. I think that's what Shawn's looking at. Now, this is 6, 10, 13.
Yeah, the Bugler still gets tagged in combat if the outburst is cast. That'll put the street wraith up to a 4.
Now, if Shawn blocks with the third one, now he'll lose the team, though, right?
Yeah, I think that this turns off Shawn's top decks.
Well, he's worried. Oh wait, there's Kessig Wolf Run on Ben's side, so maybe this may be forced.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Wolf Run.
Yeah, doing that to the Ceradon that the 1/1's on 3-0 and trample, so it's going to trample for 8. You get up plus 7 more. It's going to be for 15.
Yeah, we caught this card and talked about it a little bit earlier in the tournament, but the first time it actually matters,
well,
like it just kind of showed up here.
Hold on here. Mantis Rider off the top is going to be lethal.
Oh yeah, you didn't target the Street Wraith, so that
No.
Bugler is still around.
No, I think, did he do it? No, it's the island. But
That's
Shawn
good.
gave himself a draw there. That's some really nice play.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the basic on means we're going to game 3. So to dodge that out, you're saying maybe you need to pump the Street Wraith there instead?
Yeah, I think that Lau just needed to make the combat happen in a way where Dhaliwal's creatures all die, and then he just doesn't lose in any possible configuration.
Yeah, so a bit of a mistake. Then he gives Shawn a 4-outer.
Right.
Shawn misses. So we're here to game 3.
Yep.
And now Ben has to. Yeah, you can tell. I think he knows it a bit too. After realizing that he was going to take 3 and he was tapped out and saying go. At that point, you realize, wait, I'm dead to Mantis Rider. But you can recover from it. He still got the win, and now he's 1 game away.
Right. It's definitely easy to lose sight of that sort of thing when, in terms of battlefield presence, you're just so far ahead. You have a bunch of 6/4s and 4/4s and that kind of thing, and you kind of stop thinking about getting just hit for 3 out of nowhere. And
It's easy, at least I did on that board, to assume that Shawn would be losing all his creatures in the block and to forget that there was actually a block that didn't force a trade.
yeah, the Bugler getting pumped to 3/4. It's a relatively new card. I don't know how much Lau has seen that one in play either.
Looks like a 1-card swap here for Ben Lau. Looks like one of the anger of the gods being moved back to the sideboard. Now he's on the draw. That makes sense.
Yeah, that card has been pretty disappointing as a spell on the draw, the various decks that I've played it in.
Yeah, we saw Ben doing it turn 2 with a Spirit Guide on the draw and still losing game 1. I can see where it's a lot less attractive there, especially in this matchup.
Right, and that's a game where it even killed multiple creatures. Another issue that the card has is the humans deck could just end up with 4 toughness creatures pretty effectively. Champion of the Parish and Thaliu's the Tenant afforded that luxury.
Right, in that situation, you may want to just switch back toward...
It could be something like bring in another Ingot Chewer. Make sure that
like
you push off the tempo off the Ether Vial.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot on the draw.
Yeah.
On the play, I'm not as worried about an Aether Vial.
Right.
You can get your 4 of in the living end sideboard, so some number of those certainly could be welcome.
Yeah, I like the registering 4 Ingot Chewer.
Yeah.
With that volume of Ingot Chewer and playing Violent Outburst, that might even give the deck a little bit more game against something like Ironworks combo.
Yeah, that's... Living End's matchups, one thing I've been learning while watching this today, they swing pretty hard and interact in some very...
Unique ways.
Unique ways. You kind of got to play them. Shawn going to take a mulligan here for the 3rd game. Ben, looks like he's keeping... He does have a Dead Gone in the opener.
It's a nice one.
Yeah. You mentioned that with that rules change. We saw that first in Indianapolis. A boon to the deck. They can actually play something interactive now before turn 3.
Yeah. There was a brief period in Modern where things got a little wonky, where split cards allowed you to check on half the card's mana cost to cast them in weird ways. Brain in a Jar was a little bit broken. Saw players using Brain in a Jar on 2 to cast Beck and Call, and it was pretty lame. So now we count Dead and Gone as a 1 and a 3 just being a 4, so you cascade over it with your 3 mana cascades.
First time I remember seeing that was when we had I believe it was either modern or extended, but it was definitely
Bloodbraid Elf Boom Bust.
That's the one. Yeah, let's get Armageddon.
3/2 haste Armageddon. That card was pretty good.
Yeah. Drawing Boom Bust instead of cascading into it, no good.
No,
that card's terrible.
you gotta guess throw some flagstones in your deck, but.
Both players now having picked up their first losses in the top 8.
That's kind of that's what you like to see. Full 3-game set in the final.
Keep on 6 for Shawn. He's deciding on this scry here.
That's the most important scry decision he's going to make in the entire tournament.
And we're going to start out with Aether Vial. 3rd time for Shawn. See if Ben has any of those ingot chewers. Start out by cycling Street Wraith.
Yeah, having ingot chewer would be great.
Doesn't look like he's pretty full up on lands.
Yeah, some few lands and a Simian Spirit Guide to accompany that Dead Gone.
Yeah, Blackleaf Cliff's the play that will let him use the removal spell if Shawn produces a creature here. And it looks like Meddling Mage in the hand for Shawn. And he'll start with Kitesail Freebooter. He'll get some information. It's going to play nicely with Meddling Mage.
Yeah, I like the sequencing on Freebooter over Meddling Mage. Even though there's generally just the one card you want to name, the Freebooter is just going to potentially grab the only Cascade spell if that's the way the hand shakes out. But more importantly, it's going to attract a removal spell like this Dead Gone.
Yeah, and that's what's going to get. How about 2 Dead Gones, though?
All right. That Beast Within is the 3rd option.
Yeah, so we have 3 lands.
Some dual deck printing.
Yeah. Beast Within.
Lands versus the Beasts, I think, was the one.
Yeah. I want to say Grokvi Liliana has this in it.
Oh, it's in that one, too?
One of the Dead Gones will go under Kitesail Freebooter. And then the other one will get it back. Right now, Ben's hand, a lot of reaction.
Yeah, that second Dead Gone is going to make Dhaliwal have to figure out a way to actually effectively leverage the Meddling Mage. And the Beast Within also compounds that further. This is just 2 clean answers to Meddling Mage.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Shawn to use Meddling Mage to keep Living End from happening on this board.
Now, notably, Lau has cycled exactly 1 creature, and it's just a Street Wraith.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm interested in. Right now, he doesn't have the Cascade spell. He also doesn't have a stocked graveyard. Even if he draws Demonic Dread or Violent Outburst, it's not that threatening.
Yeah. There are some good strings here. In a deck full of cycling creatures, sometimes you draw 1 and it turns into 5.
Yeah.
And then you cycle your 5th one, and that's a Violent Outburst. And
that's nice when those situations line up.
Right.
And here's actually just Meddling Mage onto the board for Shawn. Into some known answers. And he's going to name it Dead Gone.
Yeah, makes sense. Name the card you see. And then the Vial gives you the option, if he has a Phantasmal Image, or certainly another Meddling Mage, where you can still bust up a Cascade Chain, though, as we've stated, Lau's Graveyard is not stocked. I'd be pretty surprised to see a Living End anytime soon.
Horizon Canopy here for Shawn, leaving his Aether Vial on too. I think there's a question right now as to the rules between split cards and Meddling Mage. They're getting a confirmation on this. Yeah.
Seeing if you can name dead / gone, or you have to name dead or have to name gone. I'm pretty sure in the intuitive way that it would work, the way you look up cards in a database, the full name of the card is just dead gone. But apparently that's not the case, and you see Benjamin Lau's reaction. It sounds like they're getting a ruling that you have to name half of the card.
Yeah, there's the card dead and there's the card gone, and you may name either of them. You may not name 2 cards with Meddling Mage. We will confirm it. We're going to get a confirmation here from our head judge. These rules, I always never want to say on these ones because the rules between split cards have changed. And I know some of them have and some of them haven't.
Yeah, this is weird.
Okay, the ruling is, you can only name half of it. So Shawn has been given the opportunity to decide the half he's naming, and he's naming dead.
That makes sense. Gone's a bit worse than dead. Yeah, Gone's just a bounce spell.
Okay, but now that's happened, let's look at Gone. Okay. It is a 3-mana unsummon, and Ben Lau can still cast that.
Correct.
Okay. It could come into play. It's right. It's castable.
Yeah, it's pretty poor in the face of the Violon too, but this
he vials it back.
This is a thing that Lau can do.
Yeah, when there's a vial on the same mana cost, it's a small consolation to be able to cast Gone.
Oh, well, I learned a new rule today, and in about 6 months, I assume I'll have to relearn it because that's the kind of
it's not going to come up in the meantime.
Yeah, I imagine. Well, either it'll be the same and I'll have forgotten, or it'll change.
Right.
And activation on Vial here, this is going to give Lau some pause. There's a lot of incentive to fire off the Beast Within on something here because there might just be a Meddling Mage naming that pretty soon.
Don't Gone the Mage in response. That's what I know.
I wouldn't do that. Yeah. Just Vial that one
right draw back. Another Meddling Mage. And in response, he's going to Beast Within the Meddling Mage.
Now I want to find out if Dhaliwal actually has a 2. Because he just might not.
Oh, that's nice. No, he doesn't, does he?
I think he has 2 Phantasmal Images.
Oh, I don't really want a Phantasmal Image of 3/3.
Yeah, I might just decline, though you do want to get some pressure going.
Yeah, he's going to do it. Let's get a Ghost 3/3.
This is a 3-turn clock.
And that's what he'll do. He copies the Beast token. And you're right, it is just another Phantasmal Image. What I find interesting on this board is right now, if Shawn, I think he might have picked up Thalia's Lieutenant, and his board is 2 beasts.
Yep, that's a 2-mana 1/1.
What a strange situation. We're not playing humans this time. These lords are no good.
Right. I have Todd Anderson and Imaginary Todd Anderson. The dynamic duo, I believe they're called.
Huh. It's still a reasonable clock as we have a swing for 6. Lau down to 12.
We're still in this spot where Lau only has 1 creature in his graveyard.
Right. That does seem important here.
He has some stuff that can clean up the battlefield. You can use the Dead Gone to answer one of these tokens. Either, I assume you would use Dead to target the Phantasmal Image because that costs 1 mana, and then the image just dies its ability versus unsummoning a token. Oh, is that? So he has Demonic Dread, but currently he's bringing it back Street Wraith versus Meddling Mage Freebooter, which that's not really a race that he's winning. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, he needs more. If he has, I think he has a Street Wraith. So the question then would be, you could cycle Street Wraith and go for Dread, or you could just like Simian Spirit Guide out and cast Street Wraith. He's gonna Demonic Dread, targeting the token.
So this is interesting because it's a check to see if the Vial brings in Meddling Mage. And with that Vial hanging out on 2, that incentivizes Lau to try to go for something.
Yeah.
That second Street Wraith changes the math, so he actually does come out ahead in the damage race. And if he cycles into some cyclers, he both has the untapped Blackcleave Cliffs, and then also the ability to use the Simian Spirit Guide to do some cycling.
Ooh, this is nice. Shawn, in response, is going to Vial, Phantasmal Image, and decline to copy, so it will be placed in the graveyard. Cascade from Ben into Living End. Now with Living End on the stack, now that it's cast, he might cycle another Street Wraith.
Yeah, guarantee he starts by cycling Street Wraith here, though that image in the graveyard is kind of an issue. He does have the Dead Gone to answer it, but coming back as the Swamp Walking image is a big deal.
Yeah. Is there actually a swamp? He has a forest, 2 Blackcleave Cliffs. There's 1 land hiding there. Do we actually have a swamp? No.
You're onto something.
Blooming Marsh, Blackcleave Cliffs, Blackcleave Cliffs.
All right.
Nice. Okay.
So you have some 3/4s facing off, I guess.
Some 3/4s. It's fine, creature.
It's not looking like he drew another cycler.
So now he has to figure out, does he want to cast Living End?
I assume.
I guess so.
Just losing the beast is the alternative, right?
Well, you could shoot one of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably would have already just chosen to target the illusion with the Demonic Dread.
And now we're going to see. So Meddling Mage, Phantasmal Image, and Kitesail Freebooter. Now, I believe all these enter the battlefield at the same time. And if that's the case, I don't know if this Phantasmal Image gets to copy anything.
Yeah, clones that enter at the same time don't actually get to copy things. They
Yeah.
have to show up after the thing that they're copying.
If that's true, Shawn vialing that image into the graveyard was a misstep.
Yes.
And we'll check. Yeah, I think we're gonna get a judge again, because Living End's a weird deck and it plays weird cards, and sometimes we need to hear how those cards work.
Right. I recently picked up a copy of All Hallows Eve, which is a very similar effect. It brings creatures back from graveyards. The printed text on that card says that you choose the orders the creature come into play, and the Oracle text don't even acknowledge that that's a line on the card. It just says, bring all creatures back. It's like, this was nonsense. Why did we ever do that?
Yeah, and this was a misstep on Shawn's side because the ruling is there's nothing there for the image to copy.
Yep.
The mage is going to name dead, and then Kitesail Freebooter takes the dead gone. So mage names dead, so with the trigger on, there's no opportunity for Ben to use.
Right. Yeah, the meddling mage just gets the name as it enters, and the freebooter has to have a trigger. So you name the dead, then you get to trap it.
And we'll see if Shawn can recover from that. He is out a 3-4 as a result of that play, which may be relevant here. Now, though, he does have humans in play, so a card like Kitesail Freebooter will do, or Thoughtless Lieutenant is going to do something, and he'll vial one into play.
Yeah, that 2-power flyer is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, Lau down to 8. Currently, he cannot win this race.
And that's the freebooter, too. He has Shriekmaws in his deck, but freebooter is a black creature. You can't Shriekmaw that one.
Simian Spirit Guide. It's going to be cast as a 2-2. Ben passes back. Continues to take hits off this freebooter.
So, Living End got upgraded in a lot of ways with Amonkhet. In this particular context, one of the cards that they cut to make room for Celadon, what have you, was Deadshot Minotaur.
Oh, that'd be a nice card.
Which is a nice answer to the freebooter. Now, Archfiend of Ifnir is going to do the trick here, if Lau is able to produce that. But Deadshot Minotaur would have been pretty powerful.
3-4 for 5, deals damage to a flyer.
Yep. Nice draft common.
And we see another Thalia's Attendant from Shawn. This means Meddling Mage now outsizes Street Wraith. Also, it takes a turn off the clock from just Kitesail Freebooters. It attacks in for 3. Ben will go to 5.
Yeah, the Lau is getting rewarded for making no attacks. Last turn, he had kind of a good attack with one of the Street Wraiths. And because of this Lieutenant pumping everything up, he just has enough stuff to hold back the ground creatures.
Yeah, if one of these Street Wraiths was tapped, Shawn could Alpha Strike to a pretty good effect.
Lau would love an Archfiend of Ifnir. He would settle for a Beast Within.
Yeah, even a Demonic or Divine Outburst isn't particularly good here. I guess the Porters be completely cleared, because all that would come back on Shawn's side is 2 Phantasmal Images. That doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Would reset it. He's down to 5.
If the draw is a Cascade spell, I assume you would see a shove here, try to get some of his larger creatures in the graveyard first.
Yeah. Remember, Meddling Mage is on Dead Gone, so Living End is live. Now the question, if he didn't draw it, can he survive another turn?
That is to say that Meddling Mage is on Dead.
Thanks.
I believe that Benjamin Lau is also on Dead.
Can't survive another attack.
It's not looking good.
Fetch to 4. Now that Kitesail Freebooter is ever closer to lethal.
A Noble Hierarch would make it so.
So for 6 mana, are we casting Desert Celadons?
Could be.
That's. You know what? Another one that could save him. I mean, he's still a land short. Old Jungle Weaver would have been okay here.
Right?
Could
Old
Spirit
reliable.
Guide out that 5/6. Nothing beat him. He was too big.
Yeah, that's a large creature.
And we do have Violent Outburst. All right.
And he decides to not make any attacks because you might put some of Dhaliwal's creatures into the graveyard.
Yeah, you definitely don't want it. If he made an attack and Shawn thought about it long enough, yeah, chump blocking would be absolutely correct, wouldn't it?
Right.
So the second Living End is going to keep the board completely clear, it looks like. Because the only creatures that will come back are Phantasmal Images. That doesn't do anything.
Right. Then we get to play some weird top deck wars.
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of where Ben's going to be at in this. He's going to get a Dead Gone back.
Yep.
Now, of course, if Shawn say draws Mantis Rider, I don't know anymore.
Right. Then Lau pretty immediately needs to find Archfiend of Ifnir. Yeah, but the Dead Gone will cover a lot of Dhaliwal's deck in the immediate future, and then meanwhile, Lau is drawing to Craw Worms versus Grizzly Bears.
Now, of note, there's only one Living End left in Lau's deck. If he draws it, then he has no more Cascades this game.
I don't think he wants to do it again. Let's take a look at the graveyards.
He's going to cast Simian Spirit Guide.
He's ahead on board.
He did it. Yeah, you're right. I don't think he does. You're right. He just wants to.
Look at all those creatures. Look at all that.
Yeah. All right, Dhaliwal off the top. He's going to Reflector Mages. That's actually really good.
Right.
It's a 2/3. Okay, hold on. This is an insane draw.
You can't dead gone it. You can't dead gone it.
You can't recast. Oh, but here's our Horror of the Broken Land stuff. You can put a 4/4 in front of it.
Yeah, it's no Archfiend, but it's pretty good.
I was wondering if it'd be the rare. Now it's just another common.
Right.
And back to Shawn. Does he want to put the Vial to 3? That's what he's thinking about right now.
Probably.
When would it matter? Yeah, he's got mana. It likely doesn't matter. Sin Collector.
You can get that dead gone, though Lau has left up mana for it, so that's not
Yeah, Sin Collector will die.
Yeah.
And then... But it forces him to use it. Actually, he can hold Sin Collector under that Aether Vial and maybe at some point...
Surprise attacker.
Yeah, if Ben ever taps out for something, it's probably not happening that he can snag a Dead Gone that way. But
right. Yeah, because even if he tapped out for Desert Ceradon, he'd still have the Simian Spirit Guide to cast the dead.
Ben has taken some control of this game, but he is at 4. Cards like Mantis Rider are still very threatening.
This game has suddenly become very interesting.
Yeah, Militia Bugler could set something up. Even just another Reflector Mage is a huge problem.
Yes. Now, Living End gets a little bit of play against it. You do just get to cycle a creature that's bounced. Ooh.
Hard cast Shriekmaw, a huge draw here for Ben Lau.
That's a great draw.
And he'll swing in for 4. Shawn's to 16. Says go. Shawn has the Sin Collector. He's deciding, does he want
You want
to make it happen?
Get that Dead Gone out of hand and bin the Sin Collector? And
maybe. If he draws Mantis Rider, the unsummon mode on Gone will actually buy Shawn a very relevant turn. So I think it's correct. I think I'm down for this play.
If you draw Mantis Rider, though, you can still just do both next turn. You have Vial on 3 and plenty of lands.
Okay. He draws Horizon Canopy. Now Champion of the Parish. That's not where he wants to be. He'll make the 1/1 and hope to get some more relief next turn. 7 power in play for Ben. It's a 3-turn clock. He's hoping to improve it.
And he has the Simian Spirit Guide to leave back on blockers.
Yeah, he has to decide whether he wants to swing 4 or 7 here.
Easiest 7 of my life.
Well, is there a draw where he loses if he swings 7?
Dhaliwal can't draw Mantis Rider and Reflector Mage.
He swings for 4 and now casts Archfiend, which this can make some sense because I think it can be a 2-turn clock regardless. See, now he has 12 power.
Sure. I don't think it's really going to make an impact on the game one way or the other.
Agreed. Shawn has one more card here. These draws of some creatures on this board has really helped out Ben.
Right. The immediate aftermath of that living end that just swept the board just ended up playing very much in Lau's favor.
These 3 creatures Lau hasn't played, those were his 3 draws.
Right. That Shriekmaw was just backbreaking.
Dahlia's Lieutenant for Ben. He's getting closer here. Kind of side a full swing will force a block. It is for 12. If he has a card to cycle, he's basically got this.
You know, that just removes a blocker immediately.
Yeah. Does that, forces a chump block.
Yep. At 4, there's nothing that's going to just win the game for Dhaliwal. Dhaliwal's playing it like the card he drew was not good.
It was the Lieutenant, I believe. Oh, Lau's playing.
Right, yeah. Sorry, I misspoke. Yeah, Lau is not playing it like he has a good one left over.
Swings 8, and he's going to cast Anger of the Gods post-combat.
I think that seals the game for him. Guess just deliberate pace. This is the finals of the tournament.
Yeah. And there's the Mantis Rider from Shawn. It's so close. Okay, he's going to be able to put Ben to 1, but there's 2 lethal attackers. It's just not going to work. Ben goes to 1, but the onboard kill is there. Wow. Kessig Wolf Run, now the onboard kill's really there.
Right.
He's just going to swing both. No cards in hand for Shawn. He's at 4.
Can use Simeon Spirit Guide to power up this fireball.
And he's got it. He's double checking. Mantis Rider goes in front of 1. Ben just pumps it with Kessig Wolf Run, and Shawn extends the hand. Ben Lau is your champion here. On 1 life point, takes down the finals.
Really, really great stuff there for Ben.